On this week's episode, we have a guest. I think he's now going to be qualified as our resident baseballer because we don't cover that much on this podcast. But he played baseball for a really long time. He went to Wake Tech, and now he's at Campbell, living his life, doing some big kid stuff. Everybody say hey to Kevin.
Hello, 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 hello. It's good to be here.
Thank you for being here, Kevin. Can you just tell us how you started playing baseball?
Okay, well, a little bit about my baseball career. I started when I was 5 years old, actually. Me and my brother, that's something that we always love to do. When we were younger, we always in the yard and whatnot. We had those little blown up bats and the little plastic foam balls. And we just kind of got started from there. And in Winterville, they had a nice little youth program that we started in. And yeah, that was it. And I did it for 15 years. So I've loved it, but yeah, unfortunately I'm done. But we can get more into that later on if you want to. But
Would you say it was like a love at first sight thing? You were like, oh, this is it for me.
yeah, it's a smart man's game. It's more of a laid back. I'm not a big guy myself, so being small, about 5'7", that's where I'm. I think that's where I'm peaking out height wise, which is unfortunate. But I was able to play that game and have some success and not be, over athletic. I could just kind of fit in and be whatever size. And so that's why, I fell in love with it, just having the mental side, and it kind of helped me out not being, the biggest guy on the field. So, yeah.
That's nice. There's a spot for everyone in sports. I feel like
Exactly.
when you think of an athlete, you think like 7 feet, 250 pounds. You can run somebody over, but there's a spot for us. Differently heighted people out there in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Height challenge is what I like to say.
Height challenge. That's it right there.
Yeah.
So, did you try out any other sports? Did you try to play basketball, football, soccer?
I tried to play basketball at middle school. I'm not sure. I think you went to AG Cox as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was down that path for 2 years, 7th and 8th grade year. I think out of the 2 years, I think we lost one game, but I wasn't a big part of that. I was just there for moral support. Uh, yeah, the Jaziers of the world, the Shaqueens and the Cameron Andrewses and Josh Carltons, they all came through that program while I was there. So I was just kind of there, to make sure they got their reps in practice, and I was there on game day to look good.
Practice players are more important than the stars in most cases. Because,
Thank you.
who are they going to practice against?
Exactly.
If we're not there, who are they going to practice against?
Thank you. Somebody understands.
Going back to baseball, you mentioned that, your career's over, which it happens to everyone. We can't play forever.
Exactly.
And so before, you ended your career, you went to Wake Tech. Why was Wake Tech the spot for you? What made you decide, let's do that path?
Well, it wasn't for academics. I would like to make that clear. I mean, I know, community college has a negative stigma behind it, which, I would like to clear up by any means. It's a lot of great people that I met at Wake Tech, and it wasn't because of their grades, or sometimes it was a financial situation. Sometimes it was just, honestly a better spot for, your 2 years of undergrad, and spending less money in that regard. But how I was drawn to Wake Tech was, I was just trying to keep my baseball career alive. I had a couple of options out of high school that I really didn't like, and Wake Tech was an opportunity to kind of bet on myself, if I would like to call it like that, say it like that, excuse me. And just kind of open the recruitment back up and play at the junior college level. And we did have some opportunities after last year, but the pandemic and the nature of it, the places, like I said, and it was kind of the same thing out of high school. They weren't what we wanted financially, and I didn't see myself getting the degree that I wanted. So we had to make it was a tough decision, it really was, to just say, okay, let's just put school ahead of baseball for once, and that ultimately ended up being the end of our career. But I enjoyed my time at Wake Tech. I really did. I have some interesting stories, some very interesting stories about 2 years. They were not normal by any means, but yes, my junior college experience was fun, and I was glad that I did make that choice. Some of the best years of my life were last couple of years, I will say.
That's so amazing to hear, especially because, big fans of Last Chance You Ever Here. We love a good sob story, come back, rise from the phoenix, the dust kind of stuff over here.
Yeah.
And you said you got some good stories. I mean, podcasts, we're all talking about just talking. So can you give us a few?
Oh yes, I would love to. I love the story. Well, I don't love the story, but it's an interesting one. My freshman year, actually, a very difficult year. They a college baseball team, they usually hold 40 guys, And our initial meeting with that team, there were 85 young men in that meeting. I'm just going to let you know that. And all of those guys were supposed to be a part of the baseball team, which was very daunting coming in because, first of all, there's only 9 positions on the field, and then you got 40 guys on the roster. You're like, where are all these guys going to go? So then that's when, reality hit that this is a business now. And Wake Tech does things a little differently than other schools, but that was my first experience, which was kind of negative. But me and Chris ended up, avoiding being redshirted. We were on the roster come the fall. I meant the spring, excuse me. I played a substantial amount, which was great, and Chris got in the last part of the season. But my story starts where we were great. I think we were 29, or I can't remember our record, but we were ranked high in the JUCO rankings for Division II. And we had an incident where we went to Virginia. It's a school called Patrick Henry. It's not too far over the state line. So we're in Virginia, and we were staying in Greensboro. So we made that little 40-minute trip over from Greensboro that night. And we just played a tough series with a team that was really chirpy. And we had a couple guys get ejected in one of our series games and whatnot. And on the way back from it, we had lost a series, only won 1 game, lost 2. We had a coach who decided with a group of players to take a dab pen. I know I'm probably familiar with what that is, and smoke that on the bus with about 4 or 5 of our pitchers. We had 2 buses, pitchers and position players. He was the pitching coach. I'm not going to mention any names, but this story has gotten out there, so I don't feel afraid to share it.
Yeah.
And he smoked it. He was smoking it on the back of the bus with those guys. And when our hitting coach was driving that bus, he texts our head coach, which the bus I was on, and said that he smelled something in the back, and all that came out. We get back to campus, and 9 p.m. at night, 9:30, we're running in the parking lot back and forth until somebody comes up and tells them who had the dab pen. All that went down, and the pitchers know that the coach was involved.
Yeah.
So they're upset. They're running for no reason. Well, not running for no reason, but they feel like somebody else is responsible. So we're running. We ran for a good 30 minutes to an hour. And finally, our ace comes up he looks dead in our pitching coach's eyes and says, if you're the man that you say you are, you need to come forward. And right then and there, my head coach knew something was up, and he said, you were a part of this too. He storms off. Team in just I don't know the words, but just shattered right there. We had 7 pitchers get dismissed, and our head coach was dismissed without paid leave, nothing like that. He was done. We had a lot of investigative stuff that had to happen. It was I think about 2 or 3 weeks of practices after that event happened that we showed up to the field without a coach because of different circumstances, and they having to answer questions and whatnot. So that was interesting. And our season we didn't really have a chance after that. So that was my first experience in college with baseball, was an experience like that. And out of all the things that happened that year, that was just a cherry on top. I'm willing to tell you, it was crazy.
You're like, why in the world did I pick this place? Like, what did I go do wrong?
Yeah, it was the people, quite honestly. The people I met great friends, but it was the people in charge, the leadership that really, I would say, we're in the right place. We had one guy, that the pitching coach, he was still young, immature, and he made a terrible decision, as you can see. And that, we all suffer for it, and that was at our expense. So
yeah. Would you say when you were like looking at community college, since you wanted to keep your baseball career going, would you say you were looking more at the coaches? Did they like bring in new coaches, or kind of how was that?
Wake Tech coaches, they reached out to us. We always play a game. South Central always played a game in Fuquay, and he saw us that night. It was a crazy game on their senior night, and we had a great game, Chris and I. And that's the first time he saw us and reached out. And I actually had a connection with him through a showcase organization that I play with, and so it ended up working out in that regard. And I never really had any connections with Coach Easton at Pitt and Brunswick Community College. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but so that's why I ended up going there. It wasn't really any other kind of outside reasoning behind it. I didn't really do as much research as I probably should have, knowing that guy. I wish I would have picked that up before I went, but it ended up being the best choice of my life, quite honestly. I do not regret it one bit.
That's so nice to hear, because one experience leads to another, and let us right here to talking to each other. So
exactly.
So baseball, they have some interesting positions that if you listen to the podcast before, I've been like I would say a backseat baseball fan. Like I come in when it's like interesting, but
Yeah.
like 9 out of 10, I'm not there.
Gotcha.
And and so like during the World Series, I feel like especially because everyone was home, they
Yeah.
were like, oh, let's check out baseball. It's like
Yeah.
one of the three things on TV. That's
Exactly.
not a rerun. So would you say like what are some things that you would tell, a casual baseball fan, like the people probably listening to this, or there could be some hardcores out there of things that they should get into baseball because this is going up, it's opening day, college baseball is starting it up. Give us your best watch baseball, go out to a baseball game pitch.
Well, you kind of got to take in the whole experience. Like, I know it's a 3-hour game, it's long, and it's a lot of things that are going on that people just don't understand. I understand that because it's a complex game. I will say that, and it's not interesting at times. I even say that myself. Um, but I think that's the whole kind of environment. I would say the experience that you have when going to a baseball game is what you should look out for. Um, I wouldn't necessarily say that for a casual person who doesn't know a lot about baseball that you need to be locked into every pitch because it's just not going to happen. I mean, I coach baseball on the weekends with 14 and 15-year-olds, and I find myself drifting in thought another direction a lot, and it's just not going to happen. I played the game 15 years, and I'm used to the slow moments and whatnot. But I'm just saying, just kind of take it for what it is. You're gonna have some slow games, you're gonna have some fast games, but just kind of the popcorn, the hot dog, just being in an environment where everybody's just there for one reason, and there's a lot of other things going on at ballparks and stuff in between innings and whatnot. But just those little things, just enjoying it, the smells, the sounds, those are the things that I just recommend that you kind of enjoy. And I know everybody likes action, so just be looking out. You never know, foul ball might be hitting your direction, ball might go out of park, coach might get ejected. Those are things. This is very, very exciting things that can happen. I've seen them happen plenty of times. So those are things I would say look out for. I can't really make it more exciting than it is. You got to have a kind of I was kind of an innate kind of love for it that I've had. So that's why I will say what I say. But I can't really make a story of a vouch for someone else that doesn't really love it. So
Yeah, can you tell us like what made you be like I love baseball or I just like sports in general?
yeah, I will say from the sports like in general standpoint, I just love competition. I love seeing guys put it all on the line, if that makes sense. I've had teammates and I'm even myself just work really hard for something and doing it together with a team. I'm really speaking about team sports as well because I'm not sure about tennis or golf, but it doesn't mean I don't think it means as much if you're doing with other people trying to reach a shared goal. I would say just the competition aspect of it though, just guys pulling in the right direction and firing on all cylinders. Those things that really, I love seeing that, just people coming together from different backgrounds, I will say too. That is always a great experience. I've experienced that myself. And just from the baseball standpoint, it's taken me places that I wouldn't have gone if I didn't have baseball. I've been to 4 foreign countries and in Europe, and I wouldn't have gone without my faith and baseball. So I attribute that to the game, and it takes you places that you would never see. And I've played in almost all the ballparks and the college ballparks in the state of North Carolina, and I don't think I would ever have that experience if I didn't play baseball. So it takes you places, you meet incredible people. So that's why I fell in love with it, quite honestly.
That's a great answer. I mean, they should put that in like the baseball dictionary and then like if you don't want to go play baseball after this, then obviously we don't know what to tell you. Like,
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I agree. It's more to it than just a boring game, I promise.
I mean, it was like the first like America's game, and I mean, obviously people have moved on past that to myriad of more exciting sports if that's your vibe.
Yeah. No.
But baseball does have a case. They there's some rules, of
Yeah.
course, but when that I feel like that's what makes the like action-packed moments better
Yeah.
because you're like, I sat here for 2 hours and now like all this craziness is
Yeah.
happening. Now I'm like, okay, maybe the next 2 hours won't be that bad.
Exactly. No, that's a great point you make there. Yes, you're exactly right. There are some lulls, but there's also exciting moments.
It's kind of like the give and take thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna give you this one good play, so then you can stay here for another 5 hours, just hoping you
Yeah.
won't miss the next one.
Yeah, that's the worst part is you've been sitting there for a couple hours and you turn your head and something just happened. And you're like, wow, what happened? And you're at a place that don't have instant replay. That is awful. So bad. You got to listen to somebody tell you about it and you just missed it and you were there. Oh, I've been there. I don't want to do that.
Awful, just completely awful.
Yeah, it is.
I your sophomore season was obviously cut by Miss Rona. And could you like tell us how you were told, how your team reacted, like all that situation?
Well, I remember the dates very vividly. On March 13th was when we were told by, just as a student body, that our classes were going to be moved online. I think that's the case for most people. It was a Friday, so it's Friday 13th. I would never forget that. I had to take a 50-minute test that day. That took way longer than 50 minutes, but it should have. But we had just came off of a midweek game earlier that week where we played a team from Pennsylvania, from Lackawanna County. We played 2 games, a Tuesday and a Wednesday game, and our AD comes up to us after we lost. We were struggling. I think we lost our last 7 or 8 games. So yeah, it's not important as well. But he came up to us and said, "I hope you guys are doing well." And we're like, "This guy, no, we're not doing well." And he said, the series this weekend, we're supposed to go down to Fayetteville Tech, which is in Fayetteville. And he said it's been moved to Raleigh, which you now have a home game because we're supposed to have a home game against Fayetteville Tech, and it got moved to Fayetteville because Wake County was really big on, okay, we're not, we're the first ones to shut things down and whatnot. So we were like, okay, just play a away game. We get told later, I can't remember what day this was actually, that our season got, kind of cut, but we'll have to wait until April 6th to kind of restart everything. So we had like 2 weeks where we can just say, kind of stay in shape and whatnot, but you wouldn't be playing any games. I went home and had a dentist appointment. I'm sitting in the dentist. I'm just chilling and I'm laying down and they're poking at my teeth and I get a message on my watch. It says that our baseball season has been cut. So you imagine how I felt in that regard. And I didn't know that week, I have my last at bat ever in baseball. So that's more of a personal thing, but you just never know when it's your last time with anything. So I would say take that for, whatever that would mean for you and your last time doing whatever. But that's how I was told, which was awful, but that's how it was. But
Most people, they hate going to the dentist, and now every time you go to the dentist, you're gonna remember that. And
exactly.
so
No,
like
exactly.
that's even worse. Now you have another reason. You can be like everyone else and be like, oh my God, I'm never going to the dentist again.
Some bad news, right? Yeah, that was bad.
Like that's awful to know. And I mean, being told that, that's the way how your season's going to end. And I mean, you didn't know that was necessarily going to be the end of just kind of what happened to it.
Yeah.
Like, how did you come around to, I'm not going to like assume you were in any depression of a state or anything like that, but it had to be hard. It had to be a hard realization. You played this game since you were 5 years old. How did you go through those emotions and you go through that process of being like, okay, I'm fine with this. This part of my life is over. Now I'm moving on to something different.
Yeah, it's tough. That's a great question. I appreciate you for asking. I will say, baseball's been a huge part of my identity. I will say that's what people don't get is, people say, oh, you invest in time and whatnot, and that means a certain thing. But when it's a part of who you are, that's a little bit different. And when that's, kind of moved to the side, or taken out of the picture completely, that's difficult. But I was trying to figure out what was next, quite honest. I had my associate's degree. I was finishing my associate's that semester, and it was no need to waste money and go back to Wake Tech and plus go for a 3rd year. And you can't work on a 4-year degree at Wake Tech. It's just you can get credits, but it's only a certain amount that transfers. So that was not an option. My mom was not allowing that to happen either. So it was about trying to get recruited, and we had options that just like I told you we didn't. It's the reason why we didn't go to those places for a reason. But when we found out that it was our last at bat, we were at South Central where it kind of our peak days of baseball. I love that time. We were exactly come full circle. It's funny how that works. We're hitting, and this is something we always used to do during the season. On Sundays, we'd go hit when we were at South Central. That's part of our routine. And Chris and I, we kind of felt a burden to go out there to keep working and try to keep in shape and do those things for our next opportunity. And we were hitting off the tee, and we weren't really taking it seriously. We looked at each other and we're like, man, what are we even doing out here? And then when it hit us that was it. That's the end of that part of our lives. And it was tough. Don't get me wrong, because I mean, I used to plan my days around baseball. I used to plan how I would, do school around baseball, and all of it at 1 second, not 1 second, but slowly deteriorating, just gone. So that was tough. And mentally I was fine, but it was just, what do you do at that time? So that's been something, a challenge that I've had to deal with this fall.
That's kind of cool to not cool, obviously, because the way it
Yeah.
did, but like the way how you had like a big full circle moment,
Yeah.
because like that's like your high school memories, like when everyone's talking about when they're like 5 years old, I hit the grand slam in
Yeah.
the World Series and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and you get to go back to kind of where you had your quote unquote glory days,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where you had that realization of like, I don't want to be here, so
Yeah.
why am I here? Why am I trying to keep this dream
Yeah.
alive? Who
Mhm.
am I trying to keep it alive for?
Good point. Great point. Yeah.
And obviously that wasn't an easy decision, but when you kind of was like, okay, this is it. How did you come about, Campbell and where you are now and where you're going next?
Quite honestly, my faith. I didn't have any indication of where I was going to go next. I knew it was school. Um, we were actually going to take a gap year, Chris and I, and just work for a year and wait to, because the deadlines for places like Chapel Hill were gone. Dude, I was going to apply to those places. My grades were great. I could have easily applied and started my junior year with a gap year and went to school at those places. That's what I wanted to do. And I did some praying and I did some research as well. And I was kind of found Campbell. I was like, wow, and I really didn't know too much about Buies Creek. My girlfriend lives in this county actually, so she's not too far from here. So I knew about it. But for me, it was, what will I do? It's not particularly the place, because it's some great schools out there that you can go get a degree in neo classicism, painting or something like that, but you can't do anything with it. You can go to Duke and do that, but what are you going to do afterwards? So that was kind of my thing. What am I going to do? And I found my major that I'm in now, which is, I'm not going to get into all of it because it's kind of complicated, but it's just basically finance, but it's not labeled that. And I was like, this is something I can do. I saw the job outlook and their placement and their reputation and whatnot. And I was like, this is the place I wanted to go. And Chris kind of saw the same thing. And that's kind of how we ended up at Campbell. I mean, quiet place, Christian community. It was perfect for us, and we've enjoyed it. Like I said, one of the better decisions I've ever made, I will say, easily.
That's so fun to know that, you had something else and you weren't, just kind of taking on this burden and letting a pandemic or not getting the recruits you want stop you from going about your life. Because I feel like that happens very often. And not only just in the sports realm, but you have an idea, you have a plan for what you have, what you think you're going to come next. And then you kind of like stop your whole entire life because that's not what happened. And even though you were going to take the gap year and you kind of felt it out, for you, it was God, or for someone else who might not be in that religion, they were also able to find that. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you feel like you're going through, here's your sign. If you needed a sign, Kevin Mills is your sign here on Her Sports Convo today.
Hey, yes, 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 yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Would you say that you would give baseball a try, like with your finances? You said you were coaching. How did you get into coaching? Did you see yourself coaching? I know that's a lot of questions. You can
That's okay. I actually started coaching a couple summers ago. So I was 18 when I started. So I'm 20 now, and I turned 21 this year. I just say that for a reason because 21 is a big day. But I was already coaching. I've already been asked to come back and kind of invest in some of the programs that that gave me so much. And so I've already, been asked to do that. And last summer during the pandemic, me and Chris had our own, Chris and I, to be grammatically correct, we had our own team. So that was the first time I had a group of kids to my own that I didn't have supervision. And that was a very fun opportunity. And I got to invest in them solely, me and Chris and Chris and I, Lord. But and that was just, yeah, those are great opportunities. That's why I love coaching, and that's how we got started. And it's with the same people that coached me. And I'm with that same organization. And I did it a couple weekends ago, and I'll do it again this summer. So during the weekend. So yeah, that's my coaching experience, kind of really in a nutshell. But I don't think I would go back. I really wish I would. I was playing. Don't get me wrong. I don't regret my decision, but there are nights I'll go. I live 2 minutes from the baseball field, and I just drive down there and kind of watch practice and see how those guys do what they do at a D1 level, and just kind of enjoy it for what it is. I don't dwell on it by any means, because I know this is quite honestly guys playing for me, and I'm not regretting that decision by any means, or his will. I'm not going against that. I'm just, times were times, and I wish I was back with some of my boys. I do miss them, but I don't feel like baseball is in the picture anymore. I don't think I'm there. I'm in shape, but I'm not there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you're in not baseball shape. I feel like
No.
prime every day. Like muscle memory is one thing, but because I know if I went out there to play volleyball or soccer again, I would get my butt shown up by those 12-year-olds. Like, like they would be doing like the most simplest things, and I'd be like, okay, time to go home.
Yeah, as an athlete, which is great. So I'm glad you can relate to that. So yeah. You understand that, some things that you can't just pick up, you can't stop it and then come back and be as good as you were. So.
No way. And I mean, never played a day of baseball or anything like that. But would you say, what would you say was like your like thing? Like what made you special in baseball?
Grittiness, I will say. Being a small guy, I made an effort that I wanted people to know that I was there. I beat you to my spot, and that's one thing that you see if you see guys jogging off on the field. Professionals do that, but I didn't really take that. I wanted to make sure I was busting my butt on and off the field. At the plate, I battled. I know that's a different concept, but and I laid out for everything. Don't rain or shine. I tried to lay out for everything, even if it was absurd. I just try to make my presence known and try to give to my team the best I could. That was what I was known as. I wasn't gonna be the guy that hit the ball out or or did something crazy, but any way I could to kind of help my team win. That's kind of what my thing was. I was just always there, and I was loud. You could hear me, and so that was my thing. I will say, and it's carry over with every team that I played on. So that was my thing. I view to kind of define that. If that makes sense.
That's a good thing to have. It's the I would say like the heartbeat of the team because everyone, the arms and the legs are the people who can like score the big points, like get the crowd going, but you're the person that gets the team going.
Exactly.
And if, your team is having an awful time, then the person is never going to be able to go out there and score the home run or whatever it takes to get the crowd going. So everyone needs a Kevin. You said you're coaching, and your coaching is what you kind of learned from your coaching. Would you say that was one thing that really pulled you to that because you knew the relationships you had with your coach and you wanted to kind of give that back to kids in a way?
Great point. I view it as an investment. My coach has invested in me, and I wanted to give that back and invest in other kids with the experience and knowledge that I do have. I don't pretend to know a lot, but I try to, give what I can, just little, nuggets of the game and teach them how to play the game the right way. I'm not going to teach a kid to hit home runs, but as long as they know how to play the game the right way, I'll be satisfied with my job and think that I've done perform my duty. So yeah, that's always a fun thing. And doing with my brother as well, we learn a lot from each other, and it's a good combination. I believe if I was by myself, it wouldn't be as fun and the kids wouldn't be as receptive, but they, that's what I, take from coaching is, yes, I've had some great coaches in my day, and Coach Langston, Coach McCray, Coach McCray, and a few others when I was younger that, I can mention by name, but yes, that I had great experiences with those people, and I just kind of want to be that same type of person, role model, and whatever to the 14 and 15-year-olds I coach. So yes, great question.
Great coach, Kevin Mills. He's coming to change all the kids' lives.
Yeah, maybe one day.
One baseball player at a time. Kevin Mills will come and change your life and make you a confident baseball player.
Yeah, exactly.
Might not get it right, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, you're right. Exactly. Yeah.
We gave Chris his shout out mentioned everywhere else, but let's give him a full big shout out. Tell everyone about Chris. Who is he? If you don't know, I don't know how you haven't figured it out by now.
Yeah, Chris is my brother. He's the other half. He is the less significant other. I'm just messing. Yeah, it's my brother. Love him to death. 2 minutes older than me. Tries to boss me around. He cares about what he does though, and he's a competitor. And I wouldn't be who I am without him. So I will say that. I mean, I don't want all this to go to his head and me saying this because it will just blow up. I'm not sure if you saw the picture I posted on my story last night, how big his head was when we were like 5, but that's what I'm talking about. And so yeah, great person. He's working right now in the library, which is yeah. So yeah, great person all around, man. I don't have anything but good things to say about him. He's I mean, I do have some bad things to say about him because I live with him, but other than that, great person. If you don't know him,
Shout out to
great.
Chris. And usually with all my guests, we wrap up with this little I say this, you say that. So here we go. First word, baseball. First thing that comes to your mind.
Travel.
Travel. Why
Mhm.
travel?
I did so much of it.
Yeah. Where did you go? I see you went to Spain, Sweden.
Yeah, Germany and the Czech Republic were. I've been to a couple more countries than that, but that being in the airport doesn't count. They say so. But yes, those 4 countries were the ones I've played and stayed in for at least 24 hours.
Shout out to international travel. Wish we could do that.
Yeah, I know.
Crawdad Stadium.
Hickory.
Tell everybody about Hickory if you don't know it.
How do you know that?
How do I know what?
Crawdad Stadium. What do you? How do you know where that is?
Because I know how to use the internet.
Oh, okay, yeah, Hickory. Okay, yeah. You did some research.
Okay. So the purpose of this portion is that I give you a word, you tell us a story. You see, this is a talking podcast. We're gonna like talk to each other. Okay.
Okay, that was as opposed to my Instagram when I'm at Crawdad Stadium. I'm not sure if that's where you got it from, but that's very smart. I see you're a forward thinker. That's great, Ashleigh. Good stuff. I have a picture on my Instagram. It's called "Deutsch, not douche." That's the caption. I remember that. So it's one of my buddies. He plays at UNCW. Has a great story to tell. Has a great testimony. His name's Trey Deutsch, not douche. So yeah, that was a cool night. We had a guy come speak to us, and he pitched. And yeah, it was a great memory. Long night. I think I played right field that night and ran to their little wall out there. I don't know what it was made of, but it felt like brick. That's all I'm gonna say.
And the last word is fraternal.
Oh, good gracious. You don't understand how often I have to explain this to people. But my brother, of course, that's the word I'll say. I mean, that's what I think of. I mean, people argue with me all the time. Oh, y'all are identical, but it has nothing to do with how you look. That's just not. That's how I think it's the placenta and the amount of if it's a separate egg or if it's two or one. I can't explain it, but that's not. It's not fraternal. We're fraternal, not identical. We don't look anything alike.
Yeah, they don't think they look anything alike. Once you know them, you can obviously tell they don't look anything alike. But if you're watching the video portion, you can obviously see that arguably they look alike.
Oh man, yeah.
Thank you for coming up here, Kevin. This has been so much fun. You saw I almost called you Chris.
Yeah, I saw that. It's okay though.
We're gonna pretend that like that didn't happen. Okay, try it again. Thank you so much, Kevin, for coming up here. It's been so much fun. Tell everybody where they can find you, what's coming up next.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Great questions, and I enjoy this. I appreciate you for reaching out. Where you can find me, I'm at Campbell University. I'm at your reference desk. If you ever need any help with an assignment, paper, or whatnot, stop by Bowies Creek. It's in the middle of nowhere. You can come find me. What's next? I have an internship coming up this summer in North Raleigh at First Citizens Bank. Let me do your banking needs and whatnot. So yes, that's next. And yeah, I'm looking forward to a next semester. I'll start my graduate school program. So yeah.
Instagram handle if they want to find you.
Instagram is Kevin M. Mills. If you want my personal number, you have to reach out. I'd be glad to help, share my testimony, whatever you want. But yeah, I'm here if anybody needs anything.
Yeah, all that would be in the description below. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Be safe, have fun, and don't be afraid to join the convo.